Hey, how's it going, guys? It's me again. Another video. It could be long, it could be short, depends on how fast I get through a lot of this stuff and how much I expound on it. What comes to mind all of a sudden out of nowhere. Um let's see. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the the list of different things that have happened that are similar to what happened to me at other locations just owned by this one corporation. To clarify, to be super clear, Bain Capital owns a group called CRC Health. CRC Health has a subsidiary called Aspen Education Group. Aspen Education Group has subsidiaries like the place that I went to, or other places, or other groups, or like whatever. So you see like the chain of command coming down. So it's really hard to, pin these places down. It's like you think of it like a snake oil salesman back in the 1800s or something. The guy comes, he does this thing, all these people are ripped off, or they have a grievance. By the time they realize that something isn't right, that this thing that they got sold, it doesn't cure cancer or whatever, or make you live forever, or make you young forever, or whatever, they go looking for the guy to get their money back or get revenge. He's already gone. He's like in a different city. It's the same sort of concept, like more or less, or like with gypsies or something, you know what I mean? So this is you can go and look all this stuff up, but I thought I would just talk about it myself. A list of the places that are closed, because there is, let me count right here real quick, of all the places together from just this one company. And this is like a tiny company compared to like some other places that own a lot of places in the United States and overseas. So there are 6 that are open right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of them's Turnabout Ranch, which I know is a really, really bad place. That is like that is up there probably with the worst of the worst, I would probably say. That's still open. So 6 that are open, and how many are closed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. I lost count at the end, but I think it's 38 or 39 that are closed. So out of roughly 45 total programs, 39 of them are closed. So what does that tell you? If you were, let's look at it from an economic place. If you were, come on. I wouldn't give my money to people who, out of 45 different ventures, 39 of them have been shuttered. I would feel like that is kind of a bad investment. Like maybe my money will not be spent well, and like the rest will be shuttered. But that remains to be seen, because I know Turnabout Ranch was around since because I remember there were people that were really scared of that place when I was, in this situation, which was 2007. So that's 14 years ago, and it's still open. That's Utah for you. That's the Utah state government and all their cronyism and all their corruption. That's, all the out of the places that are left, still open from just this corporation. Once again, I got to remind you, half of them are in Utah. So there's something going on in Utah where they have some sort of beneficial connection, or what would you call it? Like I don't know, a working relationship. But yeah, let's see. Some of these places they closed. What you can read about, just average, just scanning over this. I'm not going to go deep into all research about every single one of these places, but let's just click on them, in alphabetical order. This place was therapeutic, quote unquote, boarding school, ages 14 to 18. They closed it because a son of a Major League Baseball pitcher named Jeff Reardon, who pitched, I guess, for the New York Mets, the Montreal Expos, the Minnesota Twins, the Boston Red Sox, the Atlanta Braves, the Cincinnati Reds, and the New York Yankees, won the World Series in 1987 and was a 4-time All-Star. His son magically died there. Nobody knows how. He just died. So that's closed. Some of these, of course, no information about them or why they were closed or anything, unless if I go deep into like court and police records and stuff like that, which I'm not going to do right now. But let's see, Aspen Achievement Academy. Let's see what happened here. Okay, let's see. Because this is I'm not coming into this. I'm totally blind coming into this. I'm clicking on these like I have no idea about them at all. Some of these, yeah, a 16-year-old died. It says he got strangulated with a piece of a seat belt. So it seems like it says on the page for him that they used the escort services like they used for me. So it could have been that he was not going with the flow, and one of those ex-military, ex-CIA guys strangled him to death with a seatbelt. Is because how do you die from a seatbelt in a car that is not in a car accident but just sitting there parked? That's an interesting way to die. Let's see, Copper Canyon Academy. Nobody knows why. It just closed mysteriously one day. Grades 7 through 12. Let's see, what grade 7, so that would be 12-year-old through 18. So who knows what happened there? Maybe somebody died, maybe somebody got raped. We'll never know. Okay, here's another one. Excel Academy. Why did they close? Let's see. In January 2008, a Montgomery County, Texas sheriff's deputy who was moonlighting at Excel Academy, once again, as I've said, these people are all cops or ex-cops, or ex-military or military or CIA or ex-CIA. He was fired by the county and indicted on charges of official oppression and unlawful restraint after an indictment in which he was alleged to have thrown a male student to the ground, handcuffed him, taken him to the county jail, undressed him, and applied Vaseline to his back and gave him to adult inmates in the county jail. He was sentenced to 30 days in jail, the cop, and 1 year of deferred adjudication. So that's pretty extreme. We're like at, this is alphabetical. There's like 39 of them. We're at E. So already you hit stuff like that. Let's see. What is this place called? Island View Residential Treatment Center. Let's see. This is just a huge list of stuff. Oh my god. A 15-year-old just disappeared and was never found again. Or something like that. 16-year-old died mysteriously. Most likely murdered in the same way that the guy was murdered at the place that I went to. Somebody filed a $135 million lawsuit. And by the way, I know people mentioned in previous videos about Dr. Phil. He was named in that $135 million lawsuit. Some kid got thrown to the floor and suffered traumatic brain and nerve damage, resulted in permanent disfigurement of her face and eye and impaired vision for the rest of her life. Headaches, nausea, vomiting, and double vision until she's dead. Let's see. Where are the cops during all this? Where's the FBI? Where's the Department of Human Services? Nobody knows. Quite mysterious. Many former residents have reported that sedatives were given to quell disobedience. Oh, that sounds like One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest or something. Pretty crazy. Well, let's move on to the next one. Mount Bachelor Academy. Now, this is one I'm familiar with, because a lot of the people that I was with at the place that I went to, who are now no longer with us on this plane of existence, either came from here or were being sent here afterwards. Most likely, if I had not escaped, this is a place where I would have been sent. We already know what happened here. The list is immense. But essentially what happened at this place is they raped a bunch of kids. And they got caught. So then they didn't get charged with any crimes. I think somebody tried to sue them. 9 different people sued them for $14.3 million. I don't know if it ever paid out or if they settled out of court or what the deal is. But no law enforcement intervention in that one. Let's see, moving down, New Leaf Academy. There's 2 of them. One is in North Carolina, one's in Bend, Oregon. We'll look at the Bend, Oregon one, because that seems to be some sort of nexus for this nightmare hellscape that they've created. I do not know why. Let's see, why were they closed? I guess no. Oh, okay. They were legally shut down to severe physical and sexual abuse from the quote unquote staffers and therapists, especially of special needs children with Asperger's and autism spectrum disorders. Wow, what great guys, you know? What real swell people. North Star Center. Let's see. Uh, Nobody knows. And also, this is located in Bend. Half of the ones, or probably most of the ones, I'd probably say like one or two are not located in Bend, Oregon, of all the stuff that I've just talked about. Uh, they closed. Nobody knows why. Probably killed or raped somebody. I mean, you know, Occam's razor at this point. You know, all these places have either killed or raped somebody. So if one of them closes, that's most likely the reason. Uh, let's see. Another one that closed that really has no explanation for why. Oakley School. Wellspring Academies. Let's see. Why were they closed? Oh, because they're starving people to death. Let's see. Yeah, the economic turn down, and also the fact that they were ended up starving people with caloric intakes like maintained every day that were like 500 calories or whatever the fuck, to intentionally starve people to death, little kids or whatever. So that's probably one reason why he might have got shot down. He was Wellspring Camp La Jolla. Let's see. Starving children. Torturing them. That's it, pretty much. Basic stuff. Torturing them, starving them. So that's Wellspring Camp La Jolla. Wellspring, New York. Let's see what happened here. Same thing. Okay. So these are all part of the same network. Wellspring. Oh my god. La Jolla, New York, North Carolina, Lake Tahoe, Texas, Wisconsin, Oregon, Georgia, DC, Pennsylvania, Hawaii, Vancouver, and the United Kingdom. And that's just one. That's not even this corporation. I mean, it's owned by the corporation, but it's just one school with multiple campuses, even in other countries and places like Hawaii. How crazy is that? And now that's closed. All of them are closed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 different places in 3 different countries and 11 different states in the United States. And they are all closed. Why? No one knows. Most likely raped or killed a kid, and then it got covered up by the cops, and now you can't find any information about it. They just mysteriously closed because of economic downturn. Just like how, I forget what place it was. Maybe it was Sea-Doo, or maybe it was one of those other joints. They closed down. No. There's a medical clinic in Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco that had been a place where the CIA had been experimenting on people or whatever since like the 60s, you know what I mean? They had been giving people LSD or like drugs like without their knowledge when they went into this place. They aired a documentary on it like in 2015 or something. It wasn't that long ago. And like 1 month or less like after the documentary aired, this clinic in San Francisco closed down, and for no reason. They said, "Oh yeah, it's because of the economy or whatever, or some stupid thing." Totally disappeared, gone. It had been there for like 100 years, gone. So, yeah, I wanted to go through that real quick, just so you know, like my experience is not unique at all, and it's not even the worst. Well, it's hard. I mean, what do you, like I said before, what do you put on a ranked list or whatever? What's worse, you know? Being trapped in like a jail cell that you can't get out of, that has bars on the windows, where you're raped every day or, you know, beat into a pulp, or to have the same thing happen, but to be out in like a Siberian, like wilderness where you can escape, but if you do, you'll certainly die or be eaten by animals. Uh, I don't really know. You know, I guess it's up to the individual, which is worse for them. But moving on from that, just for a second, kind of. Laurie Wilmot, that that bitch. She, on her LinkedIn page, if you go there now, she has removed everything before 2010. So when that guy that I talk about, Sergei Blashinshin, was murdered at a place that she owned and ran called Sagewalk, everything prior to that exact date of like 2009 has been just removed from her professional portfolio. It's just been excised. It's like non-existent. Like the only record of like her employment now is at her standalone LLC companies. One is called Sage. Let's see, what is it called? Sage Behavioral, or no, Sage Counseling LLC, limited liability company. You know, shows how much faith that they have in that, you know, to make it a limited liability company where if it goes bankrupt, then like whoever is in charge has limited liability. And also a very interesting. She seems to have teamed up with another bitch named Meghan Flaherty, like Irish Flaherty, and she created another company, which is more recent, which is called Sage Labs, Sage Laboratories LLC. And they have a website, although it doesn't work. So who knows what that is for or what they do there. They had a little like a little description of it on some place, and it was strange. Let's see, what did it say? Sage Labs, Bend, Oregon, of course, is dedicated to creating technological solutions for mental health providers, consumers, and administrators that improve patient outcomes and streamline services. We are connecting the field of mental health to the age of technology by linking people with the tools they need to do their job and improve their lives. We bridge the gap between patient and therapist by developing useful software accessible across a variety of technologies that empowers people and practitioners to access mental health solutions at their fingertips anywhere in the world. So what I assume this is riding on the back of coronavirus to make another quick buck by having people talk to therapists over a fucking cell phone camera. That's what I assume, but it could be something more sinister. Sage Labs. That's really interesting. Merging technological solutions with mental health problems. It sounds like a plot of a 1980s science fiction horror movie. You know what I mean? So who knows what the hell that they're doing over there. Fuck Laurie Wilmot and what was her name? Meghan Flaherty, her new partner. So that's great. That's interesting. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to say in this video or go over. It's funny. Let me take a drink real quick. Please excuse me, but everybody needs to drink or you'll die. Which is related to what I'm about to talk about. Survival. A lot of the stuff that we did out there, or that it's it. Well, I was flipping through the U.S. Army Survival Manual, FM 21-76, original, not -1. That's like 1970. Let me see. What does it say? 1970. Yeah, October 1970. Department of the Army. So that's Vietnam War era survival manual. There's some stuff in there. This is when I talk, like in the other video, about going crazy and thinking of myself as a POW or a captive or like a U.S. Army captain that had been captured by North Koreans and I'm trapped in this place or whatever. This is the type of stuff that I was in my mind, using to mentally try and survive or try and figure out what to do, because at first you don't even know what the fuck is going on. You do not know if like you're about to be like executed or whatever. So you have to think about escape, and you have to think about maybe killing somebody if they try to prevent your escape, or fighting somebody at the very least. But I like this right in the beginning of the manual. Survival. Size. It's an acronym, you see. It's clever. S. Size up the situation. Your surroundings. Your physical condition. What type of equipment that you have. You. Use all of your senses. Your eyes, your ears, even your nose. Everything. Touch. Even your sixth sense, if you feel that something's wrong. R. Remember where you are. Don't get, lackadaisical and think like, you're in a safe place just because you got a lucky break or whatever. You can die like at, any moment or whatever. I mean, you can die very easily. Let's just put it that way. So remember where you are. I like that. V. Vanquish fear and panic. And this is a big thing that was a big deal there. That is maybe why I survived and why some people died. And some other people survived and they died later, or they're like Nate Gray and they're still alive. Is that when you're in a situation like this, I swear to God, I'm sure that there are people out there that are so depressed and they hate their life. I don't care if you're a teenager or if you're 90 years old, you probably feel like you want to kill yourself. You feel suicidal. You feel like life, it sucks. Just this is just lame. I get up every day, I go to work, I hate my wife, or I hate my husband, or I hate my parents, or blah blah blah, and this is just awful. I wish I was dead. When you get into a situation like this, because death typically when you get into this type of situation, death it doesn't come easy. It's not like you put a gun in your mouth and pull the trigger and boom, it's over. It is like usually very brutal, very painful, very drawn out, like drowning, uh, dying of hypothermia, um, dying of disease, stuff like that. Not exactly, you know, quick and painless. The only people that survive are the ones that overcome that self hatred. Even though I hate myself now, back then, you have no choice. That you'll realize that one day, if you're listening to this, maybe one day you'll be in this situation. You realize if I think that way, I will die. And it kicks in. It doesn't matter how depressed you are, suicidal, how much you hate yourself, whatever. You start to think, I must survive. I must do anything to survive. The people who don't, who get stuck in that mind state of depression, and you'll hear this on any TV show like the I Shouldn't Be Alive or like some survivor story. When you give up like that, that's when you're really up shit creek. Like you lose the capability to like care for yourself or to like move forward or to make any progress. You might as well just be dead already. You'll never make it. Those type of people that held on to that attitude, they died. So that's V. I improvise. Like what I did. I got in trouble for this very bad, but I wanted they give you raw meat. Raw, like I don't know what it is, beef. I couldn't really tell to eat. And so I thought, why not, cook this up a little bit, give it a little texture, a little flavor, right? So what I did is I got a tuna can that I found on the ground and I peeled back the lid and I used it like a frying pan with like a metal like clamp that I had to clamp onto the lid of the tuna can, and I would put the meat inside of there and I would like fry it, like fried, I don't know, like frying a sausage or I don't know, something like that. You improvise, you use what you have available to you. You can't rely on other people to give you stuff because usually they won't. You know what I mean? Especially if you're in a situation where they hate you or they want you to die. You have to do what you can yourself in order to preserve your life. V goes back to what I said earlier. Value living. I won't go over that again, but you already heard my speech on that. A, act like the natives. Even though this place is desolate, I mean, Indians at one time did live here. There is still evidence in this place of gunfights. There are like shell casings on the ground and like arrowheads from in these little valleys, like very little narrow valleys, where I guess like 1800s like settlers and Indians like had like a fight, where shooting it out with each other or whatever. Obviously, those people aren't around anymore. But if you know about what they know about the place or what they think or what the stuff that they do or whatever, that's always useful to know. Or even just the people who, if you go into like a prisoner camp or something and somebody is doing something and you don't understand why, don't try to understand it. Just do it. You know what I mean? There's obviously a specific reason for it. So act like the natives. L, live by your wits, but only for now. Learn basic skills. You know, you just your common sense, your wits can get you, pretty far if you're a level-headed guy. But at the same time, you need like the understanding, the tools mentally to survive, to overcome, to get back home, right? So I thought that was interesting. Just wanted to go over that. Reason I was interested in this book was because a lot of the stuff in here is stuff that I did when I was out there, having not read this book before I went out there. I mean, you can look this stuff up yourself. Goes all into the psychology of survival. This is like why I get into the military mindset. It's like, you know, there's you're surrounded by stress, that affects you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. You'll be subjected to a wide range of it, both personal, interpersonal, and external. And with knowledge and of both yourself and your environment, you can overcome or at least minimize the effects from this type of stuff. I mean, it says right here, and I've seen this, like firsthand with people who reach, their limit or whatever. You freak out. Too much stress leads to distress. You know what I mean? Difficulty making decisions, anger, forgetfulness, low energy, constant worrying, propensity for mistakes, thoughts about death and suicide, trouble getting along with others, withdrawal, hiding from responsibilities, carelessness, stuff like this. I mean, you can go through all this shit. Anger and frustration, depression, loneliness and boredom, guilt, thoughts of suicide, natural reactions. This is U.S. Army 1970 field manual that they gave to people who went to Vietnam. So all this stuff, that I feel or that I, went through or whatever, I don't feel so alone, or at least I don't feel crazy, when I read in an army manual the same type of stuff I did. But if you're interested in that, if you want to see how I made fire to survive when I was out there, you can either go on Nate Gray's channel, he is an example, or you can go to page 153 of the FM 21-76 Department of the Army Field Manual Survival, October 1970 edition. That will show you how I survived, how I cooked food, how I kept from dying of hypothermia or getting frostbite or losing limbs, if you care to do that. So that I thought was interesting. I just wanted to kind of talk about real quick, It's kind of a weird thing, but this place that I went to, sorry, I got to take another drink. I'm sure you've all heard about military schools where you're taken to I don't know a lot about them. I've never been to one. I don't even, know that much about them at all. My concept of it is that you're taken to a boarding type school where you're put into like a JROTC type program, but maybe for enlisted personnel or something like that, where you're just trained for your adolescence to become like an enlisted U.S. serviceman or whatever. So how do you punish somebody that's gone to a place like that? You're in military school, and obviously they have their own punishments there. I'm sure it's full of torturous, horrific stuff. I don't know, I just assume that it is based on my own experience. The punishment when they can't break you down at military schools, or they like put you in solitary confinement, or they torture you, or do whatever that is they do there, and it does not work, they send you to where I went. So where I went is the ultimate lowest, bottom of the barrel, the worst of the worst, Butcher's Bay, the punishment for military school, for fucking up in military school, or any of the worst of the worst, like jail type places. And I had never been to juvenile hall, I've never been to a military school or any of these places that are all hardcore, like gladiator school type stuff. And I was put directly into the worst of the worst punishment, place, like the worst that you could possibly ever be in, where they kill people or whatever. So that's I mean, I use the word interesting because I don't want to say what I really feel, which is it's disturbing. It's traumatizing. It's horrific. It is like, going to fucking war or something, because it's like, look at it like this, when you go in the military or whatever, it's like you think like everything will be like combat, everything will be like shooting and like explosions and whatever. But the reality is like 99.9% of jobs that you get in the military are like, non-combat. It's like has nothing to do with fighting at all. And even though, I mean, that is true, like even in these capacities, you may be exposed to things that, will affect you very deeply. Even if you don't kill, you're not shot at or anything like that. I mean, you see like aftermath of like a mortar landing in a crowded marketplace where people like took their kids because they were handing out, like fucking candy, or like there's a little circus or something, or whatever. That, you could be like some desk clerk, you could be a truck driver, you could be a quote unquote petroleum supply specialist, and see this stuff, and it'll tweak you bad. I know people who were in like Korea back, well, when it was like a serious thing, like the Korean War. And the thing, and people who had, experienced combat and people who hadn't, they said like the thing that was more disturbing than the combat was like the stuff they saw outside of it, like getting off the troop ship, people who are like emaciated, poor, starving, like running up, like offering to sell like their children for like some sea rations or something like that, or some piece of shit candy bar or like whatever because they're starving, or like, shooting and having little kids run up and pick up your shell casings like every time you shoot, especially like on a 50 cal, because those are like the biggest, most brass. They pick them up and take them and melt them down, and that's how they like earn their living to like eat and survive. That fucks people up more than just shooting some guy in the head. At least it's what I hear, and from my experience, it seems to be the truth. But I don't know. It's like if this place is like very cruel. I mean, like unimaginably cruel to where it's like cartoonishly unbelievable. If you want, I mean, go back and watch like Full Metal Jacket. You know, the part like in the beginning, of course, everybody knows this, where the drill instructor is like torturing, just humiliating that guy, that fat guy, right? The fat guy, the Gomer Pyle guy, he cannot keep up with the program. He's like one of McNamara's morons. He cannot, cope with like life in the Marine Corps or whatever. The punishment and the discipline and stuff like that, and he ends up committing suicide and like shooting the other guy. Well, that's like, if you go back and watch that movie and the types of, I mean, the brutality of it that they put on people, and what, don't laugh, when you're watching it. I mean, it's funny what Arlie Ermy says. He's a funny guy. He's a great actor, but I mean, it was not far from that. It is like that level of like, you scumbag piece of shit, like you fucking motherfucker, like I bet your parents wish you had never been born. The best part of you is a shit stain on a fucking mattress or whatever the fuck. Like that type of stuff. It's like the same way it was every day for like however many days or months or whatever that I was there. That's like how they treat people. It's like, and not only that, but the part where all the people get together, like in that movie, and they beat up the Private Pile, like they would make you, or they would try to get you to do stuff like that, like torture or, like hurt people for them, right? Like if somebody was like too slow or like too weak or whatever, instead of punishing them, they would punish everybody else, just like in the movie, to make everybody hate that person so that they would like try to hurt them or like kill them or like do whatever. At least when I was there, like nobody would go with that. You know what I mean? And if they did, I would probably have to, I mean, I would not be okay with it. Let's put it that way. I'd probably like be putting a stop to that or whatever. So it's like, very like disturbing. I've when you have like somebody on the ground that's like crying or whatever, who can't stand up, and they're like so weak and like so like they're like crying for help, and they're saying, all right, everybody stand like in a line and just like kick him in the face or whatever, like just each person take a turn, like kick him in the face or like kick him in the stomach or like whatever. And it's just like, if you go through with that or whatever, and you just, like everybody else, like join in with the crowd and kick that guy, like you'll think about that the rest of your life, and you'll maybe like, I don't know, one day it's too much that you, especially if the guy dies, or like for whatever reason, whether it's suicide or the Sergei Blashin style. I mean, for me, I don't know about a sociopath or some crazy psychopath, serial killer guy, child rapist, but for me, that would probably make me very sad, very regretful and guilty, and probably I'd commit suicide. I remember further going along the fucking military route and, nailing this in once again is when I was there, they were trying to convince me to abandon my family to join like their little cult thing, this corporation. And they had a guy who was a U.S. Army paratrooper. And for some reason, I don't know why I remember this. I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe this is misremembering something, but I am pretty sure that this guy was an 82nd Airborne paratrooper. And this is what he said to me, his little analogy for like why I should cut off my family or whatever from my life and join their group. Sorry, I gotta take a drink. He said when you're like, you know, in the military and you're jumping out of an airplane, you have the jump master and you got all these guys in the, like, let's say it's like a C-130, you know, just for like argument's sake. You got all these guys, they all got, you know, it's a static line drop, so they all got, you know, their parachute, you know, the ripcord hooked up to a hanger like on the ceiling. It's like clipped in. So what you do is you jump out of the airplane, you fall like about like 30 feet or, you know, a little longer, like in meters, like 15, 20 meters, whatever, maybe not even that long. The weight of your body pulls the ripcord open. So that opens your chute automatically. So like when you jump out of an airplane in the military, like you're not pulling a ripcord or like pulling a parachute open. It's all automatic, or it's supposed to be. If you're too light, or if, you know, physics are not in your favor on that day, what can happen is the ripcord won't open. It's not enough weight to pull the parachute out of your pack. So instead, you're attached to an airplane that is going probably 200 miles an hour, and you're being slammed into the fuselage of the airplane. You're attached to it by this cord that's attached to your upper back. So you're almost immediately unconscious because you're being slammed against the fuselage of the airplane. And then the jump master has to make a decision, which is either you get a bunch of people and you try and pull on the ripcord and pull the person back into the plane through the door, or the second option is you get a knife and you cut the ripcord or the cord holding them into the plane, and they fall and they're unconscious. So while they're unconscious, they're falling through the air. And this is not that high up. You know, when you do a jump in the military, they want to minimize risk and like whatever. So the rationale is that this person hopefully will wake up before they hit the ground in time to pull the emergency reserve chute and be able to land safely. If they don't open the emergency chute, or if they don't wake up in time, then they hit the ground and they die. And so he said, like, a lot of the times they cut it. They don't risk more lives trying to pull one person in, like to risk like 5 lives. They don't pull one person in. They cut him and let him like live or die. So that's his little analogy. He said, think about that with your family. Like, cut them loose or whatever. Like, you know, like with that analogy or whatever, like your family is the one outside the plane. Don't try to pull them in. Don't try to save them. Cut them loose. Just get a knife and just cut the rope and let them die or whatever. You know, whatever. Trying to bring me into their little circle, their little fucking cult. So, yeah. A thing, yeah. One of the things we did there that I did not really mention, I don't think I mentioned it at all, but if you're familiar with free climbing, climbing up rocks, or like rock climbing with no safety gear, imagine that with a 45 to 50 pound backpack on. Dangerous in the winter, and the rock that you're climbing is iced over. Pretty dangerous. I did it. They made us do it, forced us to do it. Free climb, almost vertical. Sometimes it was vertical, but like very very steep rock faces. Like fucking, if not 90 degrees, like totally vertical, then fucking 85 degrees. Like might as well be. Uh, with all this gear on, no safety lines, no nothing at all. And once again, let me remind you, fall, die. Hurt, dead. No ambulance, no hospital, no doctor. Break your leg, dead. Fall, hit your head, dead. Fall, fracture your arm, dead. Fall, hurt your back, dead. Any scenario you can come up with, dead. And so they made us do that. Climbing up this type of, I mean, like Yosemite, like I would say probably one of these faces that you'd have to climb up, and you're gripping on like fingertips, would be like, let me think. I want to give an honest estimation from like where you would start until like you'd get like at least a little outcrop where you'd have a break. I would say, going by a football field, I would say between 20 and 30 yards. I'd say probably more in the middle of that, like 25 yards or something like that at a time. So that's a feat of endurance. Same with crossing, very narrow, like if you have a ledge or like an outcrop that's like very narrow, like less than a foot, you know, um, in width, and you're moving along that, and you're holding on to the wall, and below you is like a drop, like a fall that's enough to kill you. It doesn't matter how high it is, 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 500 feet, 300 feet, doesn't matter. You'll die. Yep, doing that with 45, 50 pounds on your back the whole time. People like movie, like the worst Soviet gulag movie, or just any concentration camp supposedly movie, or just any movie about like a fucking POW in Vietnam or something, or some shit like that. Just some horrific, torturous, like a slavery movie or something, where it's just ridiculous, like the level of danger and like physical jeopardy that they're putting like these people in. It's like when they, in the movie Apocalypto, when they go to the village, the Aztecs, and they take the slaves, right? And they're taking them back to like the Aztec capital to sacrifice them to the sun god, and one of them like goes too slow or something, so they just slit his throat and throw him off a cliff. I mean, it's like that type of fucking attitude. I mean, it's like, or just like the way that they move people around. It's like human cattle, or they're not humans. That's for sure. It's like property or resources or something more along those lines. And I cannot even remember, like, because at the time, I was afraid, but I probably thought, I have to think, this is no big deal. I'm a big man. I'm a manly man or whatever. Fuck it, I'll do it. But looking back, super treacherous, super dangerous. I'm sure that people have died. 100%, without a doubt, somebody has died from that activity at some point in this saga. Don't know when, don't know where. Could have been that place, could have been somewhere else. We'll never know. because they're all in bed with the government, uh, and all these records you can't find. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's pretty intense. So yeah, I that was pretty bad, and I did have a sleeping bag. I told about this earlier in an earlier video. I had a sleeping bag to sleep in, but it ripped open, so it was just a piece of cloth. It was worthless. Ended up sleeping on the ground and trying to hold it together in like a makeshift way to try and wrap up the material to be as tight as I could, to give me some warmth, because it's like whatever you can get, you know what I mean? Like even just a broken piece of cloth is better than nothing, like you add it on whatever you can find, even leaves of trees or branches or whatever, like anything to protect you from the wind and the snow and on the last and most important part, the cold. But yeah, I remember being out there for so long on that solo or whatever they call it, where you're out, on your own, and they let you live or die. And I was out there for like a month and a half or not 2 months or whatever, 90 days. I don't even know how long it was. And, just very strange, man. Sleeping with animals, like under trees, trying to stay warm, like begging. Like I remember like begging and crying, like please, like just give me another sleeping bag. It's like I'll give you money for it. I'll work for it when I leave this place. Whatever, $50 at like REI. Just please give me a sleeping bag so I don't die. And they just laughed at me and they gave me 3 plastic zip ties and said, see what you can do with that. They wouldn't even go out and buy a fucking 50 or 30 or whatever dollar sleeping bag, the cheapest one, replacement, to save my life or whatever. They just like spit, squirted lemon juice in my eye. And that's how they all were there. Laurie, Wilmot, all these people were like that. Evil people, man. Black-hearted, evil people. I mean, I'm a very moderate, reserved guy, like I have my political views and I have my own, beliefs about religion and all of these things, but, not, I would not kill somebody over it or something like that, or to be slighted or in some way, or to have my honor diminished. I would not kill somebody over that. But the things that these people have done and said, and the things that I have seen, to be very frank with you, if they're, I would kill somebody over the things that they've done. I mean, people have killed for much less, much less. Is there any better reason? I'm not saying I'm going to go do this or whatever, but these people are without redemption. They are like child rapists. I mean, they are literally, some of them, child rapists. The rest of them are like people on death row. They are not deserving of redemption. They should be condemned. They should be destroyed. They should be removed from this society and eliminated. That's my opinion on it. Starting with Laurie Wilmot of Bend, Oregon, licensed clinical social worker in the state of Oregon. These people are, it's so, I don't know, it's just so beyond me. I do not understand it. Cannot understand it as who I am. I would never do that to like somebody, to another person. Even if it was a fucking the worst enemy. You know, even if they just killed my best friend or my family or like whatever. No, I wouldn't do that. I might, I might, if there's like somebody who, killed my child or something, I might kill them, but I'm not gonna, go like hold them captive and torture them and do all this weird, pathological, sadistic, strange shit and force them to do these weird rituals and give them these new names. It's just like Charles Manson or something, man. It's I it's another thing that just messes me up to this day is I just struggle to make sense of it. I don't understand how somebody could be like that. I mean, I've seen my share of criminals and like, sick people and everything, but that is like another level. That's sicker than any drug dealer or any, you know, pimp or prostitute or even, contract murderer, the stuff that they do, Because not to kids, I don't know. That I'm just dragging this on. I'm just gonna end it there. I just wanted to make another video and talk about a few things. And so, wish you the best of luck and God bless you. And I wish you the best of luck in these times that are strange. It's very strange. And that's all I have to say for now. So God bless you. Goodbye.